Okay, so as you can see from the title, this is a weird, obscure one perhaps. I just got kind of influenced. I watched well, it will come up, the Spice Girls video. I didn't really realise how dark it was. I mean, I don't remember the video at all, oddly. But I just thought, oh, I could run with this. Because it made me feel like what would the smells be, what would people smell of, or what would scent the video. And it's a nice little break from the heavier character ones, isn't it? It might be interesting, it might not, but yeah, also these are focused around pop songs videos, if you like. There are a lot darker videos about, especially within the rock world, aren't there? But yeah, I thought it's probably best to give them a bit of a skip and focus on slightly less overly disturbing ones. And that's basically it. This doesn't need a lot of waffle. And these are songs I'm very familiar with, and the videos. I shall link the videos if I can. I don't know if you can do that in the description, in case you've never seen them. And yeah, it should be a fairly interesting one, this. So first up is Viva Forever from the Spice Girls. Now, I'd kind of forgotten about the song until it came on, and hence going to watch the video again, and that. It's a good song, isn't it, really? Be you a Spice Girls fan or not, I suppose you have to be of our age to appreciate or not appreciate them. But yeah, I'm presuming the song itself is about death. Free forever, isn't it? Viva Forever. Or it could be something darker than that. It depends how you look at it. And the way the videos kind of become, I'm sure it's darker than that. Anyway, the video is basically these two young people kind of playing about the forest, the woods, and they find this giant toy thing which they open, and inside is some very malevolent looking Spice Girl fairies with very freaky faces and stuff. Anyway, they kind of entice one of the kids into the woods and make him climb into a giant Rubik's Cube where he's gone forever. He's stuck in that forever. Obviously the other little fella sees this and is obviously quite disturbed and stuff, and he completes the Rubik's Cube, but it doesn't release him. And then there's more of these little toys, like more of these little kidnapped children there. Now I don't know, is this free from, is it implying it's free from abuse, child abuse, you know, kidnapping? Is it about death? I'm not entirely sure, unless it's a young person trying to, you know, imagine this in their head in a more comfortable way or something. It's a very odd video indeed. However you look at it, I can't look at it as any other way than malevolent. And also, I mean, you've got to look at the other child who saw this happen, who's going to be kind of, this will be with them for life. They're going to be very disturbed. They're probably going to get the blame. I mean, can you imagine explaining this to the police? Well, in Britain, if you get to see them, I mean, they won't actually do anything, will they? But he'll probably get locked up for no reason at all for killing them. Yeah, some fairies hid him in a Rubik's Cube. Yeah, it's not going to work. Anyway, I'm going to try and keep these as brief and not waffly as possible. And to go with this kind of disturbing kind of thing, is Lolita Lempicka is kind of what we'd call a fairy fragrance. But I'm not going to go for that one. I'm going to go for Purple Heart from Map of the Heart. Now this has that DNA of that running through it, with a black ink, and there's a lot of smokiness around it. It's kind of just much darker and much more kind of grown up, kind of gothic, Halloween-y kind of feel about it. And it just kind of suits this, because this is that clash between the kind of childhood fantasy stories, isn't it, and the true agony and suffering of it, or So yeah, for the Spice Girls Viva Forever is Map of the Hearts, Purple. Next again is a very famous one. This is kind of the song and the video, if you like, together. And that's Richard Marx's Hazard. Now basically, the song kind of follows the video to a point. It's about this guy who's he lost his mother when he was young. I think the implication is maybe she committed suicide actually, and he kind of gets the blame for that. You know, everyone says he's a bit odd, a bit weird. It could have been him that even killed her. Never mind she committed suicide or something happened to her. He kind of gets tarred with this brush for his whole life, which make me think he might be neurodivergent or something as well, because you know what people are like with their weird prejudices and stuff. So yeah, so he goes through his life quite a lonely chap who everyone thinks he's weird, and he meets a lass called Mary, who he strikes quite a friendship with. And I don't know, again maybe this is my own prejudice, but from the video and the words, maybe he develops a bit of an obsession for this Mary. Obviously enjoys spending time with him, but maybe it's a kind of Forrest Gump kind of way, where she enjoys kind of, you know, the fact he's doting and gives her all the attention. Anyway, Mary gets murdered, but this is after he sees her getting jiggy in the car with somebody else. Maybe he's enveloped with rage. Maybe he doesn't know he's killed her, but they find the body in the river. It's been strangled with his scarf, and so he gets the blame. And obviously the mob rule, they burn down his little caravan and stuff, and he ends up leaving town. There's no evidence that it was him, so he ends up leaving town, but you don't know. Did he do it? Because he could have blocked this out. Maybe he did do it. Maybe it was revenge against something. Maybe he has split personalities, come from his tragedy and kind of things that have happened in his life. We don't know. But I suppose the implication is that we shouldn't just assume that he's done it. And yeah, it's a great song, and the video kind of does go nicely along with it. And what I've picked for that actually is quite a it matches, because it's Fate Woman from the Amouage, and I've picked it because it's very 80s in style. It's Narcissus, it's lots of florals going through it, you know, white flowers. It's got a bit of that kind of Amouage smokiness and resinousness. It's just like a beautiful kind of feel to that. It's got a little bit in common with things like cocoa and opium and that. And this is the sort of thing I imagine Mary would have worn. And also the name Fate. It's like he was fated to be involved with this after his quite awful tragedy-filled life. So yeah, I think they both go together very well. And again, I'm not like, you know, we see what we see in videos and stuff and listen to songs. So I think he could have done it, you know. But I'm not entirely sure he knows he's done it. That's my theory anyway. So that's Richard Marx Hazard. Next is a very, very, very famous one. I don't think this video needs any analysing or the song and stuff, because it's quite obvious what it's about, and that's Nick Cave and Kylie Minogue, Where the Wild Roses Grow. This is about basically this young couple and this kind of obsessed guy who becomes increasingly more and more obsessed with this quite vulnerable sounding lass who loves the attention and loves being loved and stuff, but she doesn't sound like she's entirely world wildly and what have you. So they spend lots and lots of time together to get to know each other. Apparently he takes her cherry, so to speak, and yeah, maybe she grows in confidence and she gets a bit kind of, you know, happier and more out there and stuff. So in the end, maybe he's filled with jealousy or rage, or maybe he just wants this moment to last forever. So or maybe he fantasizes about doing things like this. It's all, you know, it's up in the air, who knows. So they go down to the river one last time, and he takes a rock and he bashes her brains out basically, and then puts her down on the ground with a rose between her teeth. And you know, she then gets the name from the public as the Wild Rose, but her name was Elaine a day or something like that. Eliza, that's it. So yeah, and it's kind of the story of what's going on, almost like she doesn't really understand what's happened from beyond the grave. And you don't really find out what happens to him. Maybe he's the serial killer who goes on doing it more and more to various beautiful young vulnerable women. But yeah, it's quite a dark song and a dark video, but I don't think there's any sort of other way of looking at it. Maybe there is. Maybe he's a man who's slightly disturbed, who's spotted this beautiful woman across the room, and he's fantasizing all of this in his mind, what would happen, and you know, a whole life. Maybe he's in an institution, maybe he's in prison, and he's fantasizing about this. Maybe he's an author. We don't know, do we? I've tried to look at both sides of it, but you can't really with this one. But really obvious fragrance to go with this is Noir de Noir, because it is the black rose, isn't it? It's this kind of sultry, seductive rose, the sort of black rose you put on a grave. It's kind of got this very, very dark side about it, and that obviously matches all the themes in the video and song. And it's why not? We all know Noir de Noir, don't need to go into depth. So that's Noir de Noir for Where the Wild Roses Grow by Nick Cave and Kylie Minogue. Next is one of the biggest songs of my youth, and that's Stan by Eminem and Dido. Now this song is about weird, creepy obsessions and stalkering almost. It's about a bloke called Stan who lives with his pregnant girlfriend. His life is not going very well. Maybe the pregnancy and his girlfriend triggered this kind of weird behaviour in him. Anyway, he feels like he really relates to Eminem's songs, and that they kind of mirror his life and stuff. So he's quite obsessed with them and Eminem. So he writes him loads of letters. He tries to make himself look like him, gets his name tattooed on him, and he kind of starts to ignore his missus and his responsibilities and his life. He gets increasingly more and more angry that Eminem hasn't responded to any of his letters, which for various reasons don't always get to him. So he basically ignores his missus, and he gets really annoyed with her. And because he's kind of really annoyed with Eminem because he hasn't replied to all of his extensive letters, he loses it, he flips. So he gets inspired by Phil Collins' song Something in the Air Tonight, which again would be a good one to have used. But anyway, so he puts his girlfriend in the boot, and you can hear her kind of screaming to get out and stuff, and he's like recording a message as he goes, and he crashes the car off a bridge and kills them both. Kind of an act of suicide murder, isn't it? And yeah, again, quite a dark one. And obviously Eminem's reading the letters and replying, and then he kind of suddenly clicks that he was the guy he was hearing about in the news. Maybe Eminem could have stopped it. Maybe it is Eminem really who did this and he survived, and he's pretending that he's some unhinged fan. who knows? Obviously not Eminem in real life in the video, although Eminem is, yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? So anyway, what I've picked to kind of scent this one with is, it's kind of tricky, isn't it? Because you want something that's really generic and really kind of whatever that one of these kind of broskies, which he was really, would wear. So I've gone for Club de Nuit Intense Man from Armaf, which is ultimately an Aventus clone. And I think he'd really think he was the bee's knees in this. He'd love it. It's not a bad fragrance, I'm not knocking it, by the way. And it's, you know, many pounds cheaper than the original, which isn't all that impressive anymore. So yeah, I think he'd wear that. And it being a clone and it smelling like something better and you know, more put together, Eminem, and him copied Eminem. See what I did there. So yeah, that's Club de Nuit Intense Man for Stan, which is by Eminem and Dido. Finally is a song from Fever Ray called If I Had a Heart. Now you will know this song, most likely, especially if you've watched Vikings. It's the theme tune to that. It's quite a kind of dark, kind of misty night song. You'd know what I mean if you heard it. Anyway, the video is something else. Basically, there's these two weird figures in masks, probably children, and they're kind of beckoning in with a light, a ship from the shore. And that, as that ship comes in, you kind of zoom pan through the forest to this house, like this old, it's not that old, but it looks old, kind of, you know, 17th, 18th century kind of house, and it has kind of cult symbols on the side of it, and the swimming pool is empty and filled with dead bodies, which is obviously a little bit on the disturbing side. And yeah, so as you go in the house, there's filled with more dead bodies, and these people in masks again, kind of stood about. And then you kind of see this figure in the woods, which could be representing death. This kind of lady with like some extensive makeup, looking quite death-like. And yeah, and then you kind of pan out again, and you see them kind of in the boat going through this spooky forest towards death. Yeah, it's quite disturbing, and it makes you think of lots of things. Are these children the killers? Do they lure all these people here to kill them? Are the children in the boat actually moving away, not towards it, because they've, you know, massacred loads of people and stuff? It's really a kind of dark, disturbing, weird video. It's well worth a watch. Again, the link will be there. But what I've gone for this is QH from Redolescent. Now this one is it represents the Queen of Hearts, who is quite a seductive but malevolent kind of person, who probably would draw you in to cut off your head. It depends how you look at Alice in Wonderland. For a more kind of adult thing, Tim Burton-esque, because she's quite crazy and quite capable of doing it. Also, she reminds me a bit of the witch from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which is maybe why it's sticking with me a bit. Is it the White Queen? Just quite vindictive, quite compelling and seductive, and bringing, has an ability to kind of talk you round and mesmerise you before yeah, ending your days. And QH is kind of this dark rose with musks. There's a nice touch of cumin in there. There's a kind of fruity feel as well. So it's kind of sweet but dark with naughty edges and a kind of animal kind of thing. There's like that little bit of fear and excitement as you experience this sweetness and stuff. I think it matches that video really well. So that's for If I Had a Heart by Fever Ray. So yeah, like I say, I'm not sure if this video works in my head as of getting it out and stuff. I don't know, but it is kind of scenting a scene, if you like, isn't it? The scenes and the places these songs and videos and that take us. Now, I think I've said this before. When I write my posts, like my daytime posts, you'll know the difference. And I kind of create a whole scenario and a place and stuff. I can only do it listening to music. The music helps take me to the places with the fragrance and kind of draws up images and places and people and all that sort of thing. I think music is really powerful, and for a long time I've wanted to do a proper video where music and fragrance come together, but it's not always the easiest thing to do, although it's very present probably in a lot of us. Actually putting it together and getting it out in words is more tricky. So yeah, how would you scent these videos? What's some of the more disturbing ones you've seen? And I'm not talking about Michael Bolton or Ed Sheeran, but you know, what videos would you scent? Right folks, thanks, bye.